Listen.
I've been hearing a lot lately about men don't talk, but in my experience, men do talk, just people aren't listening. So it's going to be me and a group of blokes discussing our struggles and victories through life. Warning, there may be some bad language, so apologies to all the moms, especially my own. Let's get going.
Listen.
Abin, yeah. It's the Black Country Blokes, the fact about everything that is men's mental health, disability, and life in general. Here with me, Kev Dillon, and my partner in crime, as always, Lee Cadman. And today we're going to be talking about crisis point, I suppose. With mental health at an all-time high, and especially men's suicide at an all-time high. What are we doing about it? Not are we doing about it, because we're doing our part. What's going on? So we're going to tell you a few stories, and I'd love for a bit of feedback today. But as always, we're going to remind ourselves to be grateful. So my gratitude today, we were on BBC West Midlands on the Molly Show. Great interview. And a lady called Lizzie is going to come down and see what we can do with each other. Do more podcasts or talking, but she wants to come down to my home, the Lions ABC. So I'm very grateful for that. Grateful that hopefully, if we keep knocking on the door, someone is going to answer. And if we can get onto the big platforms like the BBC, then hopefully we can reach more people and hopefully we can help more people. Because what I've learned is if the system is failing, the only thing that's helping people is their networks, their social circles. So let's be there for one another. But I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah.
What are you grateful for, brother?
Well, I think we ought to put a thing out saying Black Country Blokes for BBC Radio.
Yeah.
Get our own show on it today, didn't we?
Well, Channel 4's got the last leg.
Yeah, that's it. We'll have to think of a name for us.
The Black Country Blokes.
There we go.
Chewing the fat.
It might not work all around the country, though, at it as well.
Have to learn
Anyway.
to speak proper.
That's it. What am I grateful for? You know what? I'd is it Saturday or Sunday? Losing track of days. Anyway, one day over the weekend, my good mate Craig, ex Black Country Bloke host, came round and we started fixing my motorbike, or shall I say, changing things on my motorbike. It works, but it was just nice to spend a bit of time with them, have a laugh, have a joke, freeze our ass off, and mess with motorbikes. So yeah, I'm grateful for that.
It is, isn't it? Like I missed out on this year because, like, Ashley Nixon, who's been on the podcast 3 times, he was one of our first ever guests, and he's always been my gold medal. When anyone says, "What's your gold medal in amateur boxing?" I've always said about Ash how we turned him from a naughty child into a wonderful lad. Then he went to jail. Then he come out of jail and he said, "You saved my life once. Can you do it again?" And he got him in, got him boxing, and won a Midlands Novice Championship. Then become a coach. Then he turned his life around, went into Christianity, become a minister or a pastor. He set up churches and he worked all around the country and he spread the word of the Lord, and I was so proud of him. Then he come on hard times and everything started breaking down. He lost his faith, got back into drinking and other stuff. And he come to me and said, "Kev, you saved my life once. Would you do it again?" I said, "Yes." So I promised him and I got him up here and I phoned up all the organisations, because he was homeless, ex-offender and hostels. And everyone let me down. And I was begging them, saying, "If you don't help me now, this man will either end up in jail or worse, dead." 2 months later, he lost his life. He lost his struggle. And that was just before Christmas. And it absolutely shattered me because I'd lost someone who had in my life for 20 years. And I loved him like my little brother. But what took over the grief was anger. The fact that people pretend that they're going to help men, and they didn't. And it took me time to get over the grief, which I'm still grieving now, because we should feel grief, because that's the price we pay for loving. But I had to extinguish the anger, because that was consuming me and everything. So I didn't see my normal mates for Christmas and Kevmas, and so I isolated, but I needed to isolate. Even though I'm such a social butterfly and I love talking to people, I just need to lock myself away. And it was his funeral last Wednesday. And it was wonderful being at the church and hearing all the tributes to Ash. Someone said if it had been bought 2,000 years ago, there would have been a book of Ash. And I laughed saying if I could have, if there'd have been a book of Ash, I'd have got it on audio book. Because he was remarkable. And someone said so perfectly, he wasn't a perfect Christian, but that's what made him the perfect Christian. Because he felt the Lord in his veins, and he felt things that I don't feel that way because I'm not that way inclined. But his passion was so contagious, it got you interested. And then they asked me to do a speech at the Creme, and it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do because I'm a public speaker. I can talk. But when you talk about someone you love so much and you're feeling the pain there, it was tough. But I wanted to honour him. And we're doing a drink for him on the 15th. So if there are any old Lions or anyone who knew Ashley or knew anything of Ashley, we're having a drink on the 15th. Contact me. And then through losing Ashley, and then I was grieving. And then I had a phone call of someone and he tried to take his own life. So I was trying to help him. Next day, he tried to take his life again. And because I lost Ash, I sat with him in A&E from 10 till 12, then 12 till 3. And we were there for 19 hours. And the people were just saying, go home. And I said, he's tried to take his life twice. If we take him home the third time, he will die. And they go, send him home, send him home. And I had to fight tooth and nail, pulling every hat I had out, every name out the hat, and, you know, kicking up a fuss politely. We're now getting him some help. But I'm thinking people shouldn't have to fight that hard.
I mean, the courage it took him to get up to A&E in the first place, even with you by his side, is remarkable. And then to be fobbed off, for want of a better word. I mean, how do you combat that, Kim? Because I know they're stretched. Like, let's not, you know, there's no denying there's ambulances clearing outside hospitals up and down the country. But that doesn't mean he should be sent. If that person was having a heart attack, he would not have been sent away.
No, and it was just a fobbing offness. And some of the safters, anyone who's been to Russell Hall Hospital, you went outside A&E. We need to get a bench put out there. Because whether you are in crisis, as in I'm hearing voices and it's overwhelming, whether you want to go and have 5 minutes, we need a safe space where people can just go and sit outside, be away from the noise, be away from the madness. Something that SAF can make such big differences. And then when we are there, treating people as patients, not as convicts. They shouldn't be able to talk to you how they treat these people in a jail cell. Never mind vulnerable people. When they're saying you're in crisis, but move your hands away from your face because I want to look in your face. Or don't pace up and down, sit down. You're getting people at their worst possible moment. And that time should be shown the highest of consideration, courtesy and respect. But often they're even reading off a blank, off a piece of paper, tick box questions. It should be, first of all, before I proceed, how are you? Do you need a cup of coffee? Because when fear takes over, normal aggression and temper take over, and before you know it, you're in a storm instead of trying to nip it at the bud before we start. And the best way of doing that is with kindness. Love, kindness, respect, empathy. If this was me, how would I like to be treated? And somehow we're losing this, not just within medical profession, in all professions of how are you? You look like you're having a bad day. If you are having a bad day, is there something I can do? And that's not asking the world to change for me, because I know I have to be resilient. But when I really need kindness, give it to me. Allow me to know that you are a person who cares. Even if you haven't been through it, if this is your profession, show me some code of professionalism to go in. I've been here many times before, even though I'm aware you haven't. So allow me to help you to relax first, to take a breath, to go somewhere quiet. Because at those times, that's when we're going to do something soft. And I'll tell you now, if that had been me, and I'd been waiting so long, and I was neglected so long, I'd have just gone, sod this. And how many poor men and women have said sod this and gone and done it? So I saw something the other day.
It's okay to put in, but it shows it's uncaring, isn't it? And at the moment that you're asking for a bit of care, a bit of help, it's really uncaring. But and it will go, well, no one cares about me. So I might as well go home and finish myself.
Well, they say, like, men don't talk, but I'm seeing it, hearing it, tasting it every single day up here with the phone calls, with the messages we have. I did a post that went out there. We lost in the time that we did This Is Me, This Is Us for 37 days. In that time, we roughly lost 400 men. And on my TikTok, I had over 100 messages of people talking. And I was thinking, wow, this is a pandemic. Excuse me, and realise for every, I believe it's 12 men in the UK, England, and Wales, 12 men a day take their lives. But every one man who takes his life, 25 attempt it. Let that sink in. 12 men, never mind the 4 women a day, take their own lives. But for every one man, 25 attempt it. And when we think of suicide, it doesn't mean a noose around our neck. It could be an accidental overdose. I drank so much, I drowned on it. I drove. These are the suicides that aren't seen. These deliberately accidental suicides that if I accidentally drink too much or I do too much powder, or if I get behind the wheel now, I've had a skinful, it doesn't look like I've thrown in the towel. It just looks like I went too soon. And how many of those are we losing? The stats are never any good anyway, are they? They're a rough basis for knowledge. But if we looked into the ins and outs, there's even more out there. And then I had another young man phone me up, suicidal, who's on the mental health, with the mental health team, and he found a crisis. We're not going to come. He had his home help workers come there, and then they changed his words. They were there talking to him for 45 minutes, and they said he wasn't willing to cooperate. But if I'm not willing to cooperate, how come you've been here for 45 minutes? And these people of power shouldn't be able to manipulate words and paperwork to get the vulnerable so they can't have the help. Because if that's not bullying, I don't know what is. When I think of a bully, I think of someone with power who manhandles, manipulates, overtakes someone who has no power. And this shouldn't be the case. When people are saying, I need help, I'm frightened, I have no other option but to take my own life, we need them to remind them that there are other options, because the world you leave behind won't be the same. It'll only be worse. Those who love you shall miss you. Those who miss you shall blame themselves. Was there more I could have done? So people with power shouldn't be put onto the volunteers and the families and the siblings, because there's only, it was the straw that broke the camel's back. If I'm carrying a piano on my back, I could have someone come up, go, Kev, can I just put this guitar on there? I'm already carrying a piano. But you can easily carry this guitar. I could easily carry the piano. I could easily carry the guitar if I hadn't already got to carry this piano. And that's what it feels like sometimes. The weight weighs down those who are doing their best.
I think you felt that certainly over the Christmas period, haven't you?
Oh, it's terrible. Like, all of a sudden, my phone's updated or broke. So normally Lee's got a ringtone and so-and-so's got a ringtone. But they're all the same ringtones. But every time it rang, every time I had a message, my stomach turned. It wasn't like, Happy New Year, happy birthday, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. It was so-and-so has tried to take the life. How are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? And you're going, wow, I'm still trying to grieve one friend. Now I'm trying to prevent 2 others, as well as countless others who are messaging, phoning. And the thought of being a hypocrite kills me. I'd hate to be that person. But you've also got to set boundaries.
I'm not sure if it's as much that as well, that if both of them had phoned you, you'd have gone, right, I know you'd have gone, right, we're going to get this sorted. I'm going to phone these crisis number, this. I'm going to phone these people, and you'll be in good, capable hands. And not that the burden shifted from you then, because I know, again, you'd phone up every day and make sure that those people were okay. But it's not all on you. You phone, but the problem is they didn't step in and do their job, did they? And at that point, then it's all on you.
Well, for the first occasion, I said, don't worry. I said to my wife, phone up the crisis, we'll get this sorted. And they basically said, we ain't coming. We ain't going to come out. And I said, well, what can I do? They went, the best thing to do, get a taxi, go get him. So got a taxi, got him, calmed him down, assured him this was the right action for a hairy-ass man then to think, this is my last chance to getting better. So got him in another taxi, waited there we got there at 10, we saw the first nurse at 12, the second one at 3:30, the mental health crisis team at 4:30, then the mental health doctor at 6:30. But then I wouldn't leave his side until they guaranteed that he got a bed, so we weren't going to send him home. But when the crisis team, because we were so happy, weren't we, Lee? 112, and I went, flipping heck, it's happened. You could phone 112, a mental health nurse or team will come and assess you, see how it is, and it was just a cop out again. And
That's just a number.
I was thinking, what's the best thing? Should he just chin me and we'll get arrested and see what happens in the cells? And by that stage, you are just trying to think of anything. And you're thinking, wow, when the crisis number is saying we ain't coming, there ain't no beds. The best thing to do, go home and we'll get someone to come and see you. Hopefully tomorrow, but it might be the day after. And you're thinking,
where's the urgency?
You sentenced this man to death. And a thing that echoes around my head that I've heard from him and countless other ones of my friends is, so what do you want me to do, Betty? Help. That word help echoes around my head because they're saying, men don't talk, men don't ask for help, men. And it's always putting the blame onto the victim. If a woman, and I hope because this happens, a beautiful woman is walking down the road and she's raped because she's wearing a miniskirt, and they go, well, she shouldn't have been wearing a skirt. You put that blame onto the victim instead of the rapist. And the rapist in this story is the system, because we're raping and ruining these wonderful people's lives and then blaming them. You should have come last month. You should have stuck with the program. You should have been patient. Well, how can you be patient when the finish line isn't nowhere in sight? I want to go for therapy. Can you hang on 6 months? I want to go to rehab, year and a half. But if you want to go private, it'll only cost you £5,000. And eventually you leave these people with no options. And even worse, you leave them with no hope. And once hope is lost, everything's lost.
And a feeling of loneliness, that there's no one to help.
This is why we need places like my boxing club, like the podcast, so you give people a community. Because as my friend said, he goes, when I was going through it, Kev, and I was going to take my life, and it wasn't the hospital that saved me. It was my connections with you guys, with my family, with my missus, with my dog, with this, that. And we need to be each other's beacon to get us out of this darkness. But in that, we've got to be wary that it doesn't become our own darkness. Because when we get down, it all comes down.
And you also need the help of crisis teams and mental health professionals, because there's no doubt that everyone needs to pull together to help, really. But if you are phoning up these places, they need to help. They need to step up and help.
Well, do you remember all them years ago when we had the phone and it's, where's so-and-so from? He's from
Stourbridge, wasn't he? Was here. He's from Stourbridge. You're on the wrong number then.
And they went, oh, well, you phoned Wordsley. And I said, well, can you pass me through to Stourbridge? No, Mr. Dillon, it doesn't work like that. And then eventually we keep doing that. We went to Brolly Old Nick and they went, well, we're going to close in 10 minutes. Is it important? I went, I've told you. Did this. Or my other friend who's no longer with us.
How many years ago was that now? Start a lockdown-ish?
Well, yeah, it's around lockdown,
Yeah,
so 2020.
Yeah, 2021. So and you've had the same experience this year, and it's not got no better.
Well, 2 years ago or last year, I can't remember all the years. Phone up crisis. Friend was going to hang himself. And at that, 20 bobbies turned up, and they're pushing there saying, and I went, you're the goodies. We're not burgling. We're not fighting outside of a pub. My friend is in crisis. He doesn't know what's going on. Why are you pushing us? Threatening to arrest us? I went, we're not wasting time. I'm trying my best to stop this from happening. And the other day when I was there, and this woman coming, I'm going to put a complaint about her, on the crisis, and she was so rude. And I said, I know people are above you because we've worked with this, and hopefully we're getting our foot through the door. But it hasn't got to go to that saying, I know so-and-so, and I'm going to report you going, oh, I know so-and-so. treat this person with the respect that they deserve, because we're not going in effing and jeffing and kicking off, being a hooligan and because in A&E you see some right bastards, but we weren't there. We were staying calm. I was keeping outside, having a cigarette, saying, just if you need us, we're outside. Anything, and I'll keep going in every. Just go, still out there. We haven't run off, And it was like, and once again, 9 times out of 10, don't forget, there's always good and there's bad. I'd say 90%, 80 to 90% of the nurses and workers within these hospitals are angels. They are the thing they were meant to be. They're caring, they're kind, but the other 10 or 20%, I look and I go, of all the professions in this country, why have you picked this one? If you're not naturally kind and caring and understanding and empathetic, why have you picked this trade?
You know what, Kev? Years ago, we went. It must have been really early on into my daughter's disability, because we went to A&E, and we have open access at the ward now, so we tend to skip that part. So it must have been early on. I remember us being in there. Can't remember what I was there for now, but anyway, we got took to the back where they kind of assess you in separate beds, long line of beds, and there were curtains. They assess you in there, and the doctor come in. He says, it must have been around Christmas time. He says, don't take this wrong way, but I'm glad to see you. I said, oh, why? What's up, like? He says, all I've done all day is deal with drunk people who've injured themselves and have been abusive and horrible. This was a doctor, and I could see he was at breaking point there. And I thought, you know what? I never thought he'd be there like that. And not that he wanted to see my little and ill, of course he didn't. But I think it was nice for him to not have to deal with that side of it and deal with someone who was genuinely just unwell.
And respectable.
Yeah.
Because, you've always got to remember, if you treat people in a certain way, they will treat you in that same way. Like the old thing, treat people how you'd like to be treated. So you can't go into a situation like that, effing, jeffing, threatening. But they've also got to treat you how they would like to be treated, with compassion, of going, you're probably not your best self now. You're probably very frightened, whether for yourself or for the person you've come in here with. So have a bit of patience and remind them, if you are nasty and obscene, there will be consequences.
Yeah, and I kind of understand it on the other, as running pubs for years, and obviously that to deal with drunk people, and one drunk person can be enough to spoil your day and piss you off. But within a pub you can manage that, and it's usually you deal with one, maybe two a night where they're aggressive and wrong and whatever. At a hospital at the wrong time, that could be a constant of dickhead basically coming through, couldn't it, and having to deal with it. And you can see how they kind of get wound down by that. They go into the profession to help and heal people, don't they?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what it is. And really, I suppose when you see that it's kind of self-inflicted, it must be self-inflicted, they're abusive. It just must be so hard to keep thinking, what have I done this for? I'm away from my family at Christmas. I've done this. All I'm doing is getting abused.
That it's not right, not at all. But we weren't those people.
No.
And that's the thing. It's like saying, I can't take out the last 2 patients on this patient.
No.
Because you've got a duty to think.
But I suppose what you can think is this patient wasting my time? No, but that's what you could potentially be thinking after you've just had 20 have wasted your time.
But that's if you're thinking like that, you shouldn't be one. You got you can't be. If you're a vet, you've got to look after every animal. Some animals are going to bite you, but you've got to accept that if you're a vet. You know what I mean? And and it's like with suicide, it's like, well, you've done it yourself. You OD'd, you've slit your wrist, but that person in the same mind wouldn't do that. That person is either doing it as a scream for help or a genuine trying to take their life.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And then we need things to be able to summarize it. Are you a threat at this moment? Are you a threat to others? But what can I do now to stop you from doing it? But not only to stop you from killing yourself, but to allow you to live a better life. Because sometimes that is all it is. I'm here to stop you at this moment from killing yourself. And you go, well, I don't want to die. Like how many times I go like, well, do you want to die? I just want to sleep. Well, forever or now, I just want to go to sleep and not wake up. That's his way of saying, you don't want no more.
With Steve Ansel's written, and we're just going to put this on the. This is a long one, Steve. I bet this took your time to write.
I've been your hands laughing near you, brother.
Oh God, can you read all that? Anyway, I'll read it out. In my experience, the whole situation has got worse. Don't get me wrong, I'm so glad that it's become easier to talk about mental health and the recognition that it is just people needing help. But the system has not grown in line with the amount of people coming forward to speak and reach out. It's so disheartening when you build up the courage to speak up, to be told that they're busy and don't feel you're at risk. And that's basically what happened to you. Things need to change, but I can't see it happening.
And the sad thing is,
you know what, Steve? I'll actually disagree. I think I can see it happening. I just think it's going to. It takes more people to talk up about it, and you know what? Really, we're probably the wrong people to talk up about it in the sense of we have had a lot of people from the NHS on, and we don't want to piss them people off.
No.
But it's got to be.
Change.
You've got to be aware of what's happening to change it.
I think because we both work with some of the higher ups, and when we start telling them about how it is in the trenches, they get fed what their underlings say. It's getting better, you know. The home team's working and the care in the community's working, but it takes someone to actually have been there, like the Hansels, like all these.
I agree with that, but you know what? Me as a boss, I go out to calls and I'll go out with the staff I employ to see what their job is like. And there's nothing stopping them from doing that. Going, you know what? Today I'm going to work on that ground floor with those people who answer the 112 calls or out in an ambulance or whatever. Because if you want to feel for what's actually happening, get out there with them.
The problem is, I fully agree with what you're saying, but the problem is, like with schools with Ofsted, they're always better when Ofsted's there. You know what I mean? Like
they are, but there's one thing you can't hide from that kind of situation, and that's the people on the other end. You know, if they're coming out to see you and you're in crisis, you're still in crisis and couldn't care if he turns up or anyone. So you're still going to get the truth of it. But
the crisis worker will be on his best behaviour, or she will be on her best behaviour
potentially.
Whereas sometimes what I've seen, I'm thinking, is this the best? We did have a good thing, the mental health triage, but I don't know if it's got rid of or if it's overworked, whatever. And that was like 2 bobbies, 2 nurses. So the bobbies waited at the back, and it was working so well. I know people who've been through it, but then all of a sudden, it's like the mob squad. It's more like I'm going to put this fire out by flame throwing it instead of, you know, gentle glasses of water here and then letting it simmer and talking to the people as human beings. Instead of, all right, then, let's handcuff you and restrain you, throw you in the paddy wagon, and then once we're there, and you're thinking, these aren't baddies. These are people who have fallen on hard times. These are people who need to be treated more gently than anyone else because they are really struggling. And then what happens, once again, I'm in crisis, he's trying to handcuff me, I'm swinging, I beat her Bobby, now I'm a criminal. Instead of thinking, this could have been avoided with what? Kindness, understanding, empathy, the 3 words that I keep coming back on. And it's if we had more of that in the workplace, more of that in the home, more of that if I say this, if I come and say I'm struggling, social services is going to get involved, I'm going to lose my job. We're still putting the guilt and the shame before the help. And when you ask for help and you're waiting A&E for 19 hours or you phone up the crisis team and you're going, I've done everything that everyone's told me. I've gone to the GP. I've done this. I've done that. And then I'm still not worth saving. How sad is that when that person has refused to give up? He's tried and sometimes feels like they've got no option.
Not another comment just come in. I'll just bring it up from Galaxy Soup 2. Different name. It's completely ignored if people with mental health issues have been pushed over the edge instead of them getting the help they need.
And once you're there, and I've been there, in dark places, and you think, I'm so lucky. I've got him over there, I've got my mum, my dad, my wife, my daughter, and I've got so many people around me that care about me, and I can pick up the blower, even though it can be very difficult because when you're down a rabbit hole. But I think about the people who haven't got someone, or they are, in their eyes, the sole provider, and they can't say to the wife, because the wife might be poorly, or the children might be bad, or he or she might be the only breadwinners in the house, and they keep thinking, well, if I lose it, the house of cards is going to crumble around me. And that's horrible. And then you're thinking, okay, well, I'll phone up so-and-so, or talking therapist, I'll phone up so-and-so, and they'll help me. But you're going to have to wait. You're going to have to wait. And in all honesty, you ain't a priority. So the help ain't coming. And then that loneliness is turning to fear. It's turning to dread. That dread of picking up my phone, that dread of taking my daughter to school, or that dread of having to go to work. And dread's a horrible feeling. Dread is different to fear. I fear a few things, but I feel it in my bones. But that dread, as I said, like that, my phone ringing, I dreaded answering because I was thinking, if I don't answer, are they going to go and kill themselves? Are they going to have a breakdown? The fear wasn't there. It was the dread of it, picking it up, because I was thinking, I dread not answering it because I have a phone call the next day, he's gone. But I dread having to face being brave.
It's very similar to what basically I experience most days when the litton's at school. If I see a certain number come up on my phone, I'm like, oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, is it all right? You know what I mean? As a day thing, you just think, and it does it. If you let it, it'll fill you with anxiety, and you know, and you have to not let it do that.
And anxiety, I mean, like with mental health, and I do these talks, and I'm saying, like, we fix so much on anxiety. I've suffered with anxiety for a lot of period of my life, but I've had to have steps to get me through anxiety. I can't go, hi guys, I'm going shopping. Kev feels a bit anxious. Can everyone leave while he gets to shopping? I have to work to beating anxiety by having resilience of, I did it last time, so I could do it again. The pros come after the pain. The growth comes after the hard times. But there's sometimes when you're very poorly, or maybe it's your first or second rodeo, when you don't know how to deal with it. And it's not like therapy is the answer, but I need somewhere and someone to teach me the skills to get over it. Because sometimes we haven't got each other and we can say, Lee, I know you're feeling down. Sit on the couch for a couple of days and then, but eventually you've got to get over it. This too shall pass. Not everyone has got care networks and, loving homes to pull each other out of it. So that's when I do believe therapy, not as a long-term answer if I go every week and talk about my woes every week, but I need to have somewhere where I can pick up at people's brains to see how they got through it, to give me advice on how might help me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So we've got.
We need places where, like it used to be, working the foundry, you're working with the lads, or the moms talk on the playgrounds, or you have a boxing gym. But you need people who you respect their opinion from, who will give you honest answers and go, this too shall pass, the sun will come out. But we need each other to give each other strength and give each other knowledge that helped us get out of it. And sometimes that knowledge doesn't work for you. Like when someone's having marital problems, they go, well, if it was up to me, I'd kick her out. That don't work for me. Or if that was me, I'd say, okay, that works for you. That's your knowledge of relationships. Thank you. Don't force it on me. I've listened to you. Let's move on. But we need to have different avenues of people we care about and we respect.
Bob Dylan,
Right,
messaging. How you doing, Bob? The only way it gets better is when the people in charge get told the truth. That's definitely right. But I think again, what you've got to be willing to get out there and find the truth yourself as well. And you've also got to, the employees that are under you, they've got to have enough confidence in you that if you come to them with a problem, with this isn't working here, that you're going to listen to them and you're going to change it and not fire them.
I think the problem is, if I'm getting paid X, Y, and Z a year, do I really want it to change? And problem is, higher up you go on the ladder, they don't want it. It's not my job to clean the toilets. It's not my job to go and stand on Briley Hill and talk to mentally ill problems. You almost become above it. It's like, well, I've made it now, so I haven't got to do that. Even me, I'm the head coach here. I love teaching kids how to do the boxing stance. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'm too busy. Some days, like today, I've been up here 12 hours. It's great having your other coaches to do it. But be down with the people. See, if you go, well, how come we're not winning bouts? Well, we're winning. Let's go and watch it. Let's go and see the baby class. See what we're doing wrong. And then let's go and see how we're doing the pads. Let's go and see how we're sparring. Then let's take that into our bouts. And if we're still not winning bouts, what can I do? Because everyone can't be wrong all the time. So it's learning from there. But some people are too big for it. I am too high and mighty, A, to take criticism, and B, to make changes. So we need to be a bit humble as well, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of guessing that is the way, but I just think I think anyone and everyone can benefit that if you are in any kind of position of power to realise what other people do within that industry and go out there and find out what they do and work with them to find what they're doing.
Work with each other, not against each other. And I think the problem is because there's so many fractions now of the NHS and the Black Country Wellbeing Centre. It's not my problem. It's not my. And then because of the data protection, well, I can't release that information. I can't. And you're thinking, he or she has been abused. He or she cannot work with male workers. He or she, and you're going, there should be something. Before you meet Kevin Dillon, in red, visually impaired, so you just have a quick look at the notes, going,
We used to get emails and texts sent to you, don't you, for appointments? I just find that the most bizarre thing, getting it. Surely to God, it's someone who's visually impaired or blind or whatever. You should be picking up the phone and going, this is your appointment time.
I've been with Birmingham Eye Hospital since 1987.
Showing your age now, Kev.
I'm no longer with them because I couldn't go in COVID because my mom and dad were on the shielding. My wife was working, so I couldn't get there. Then they were sending me appointments on text message and on a letter, and then with a phone number on. And I phoned them up saying, sorry, I can't make it. Wasn't the right number. Go to this. So I couldn't think. I missed 2 appointments, been kicked off after like 40 years. And my GP, I can't phone up to make an appointment. So I turned up at the thing saying, can I make an appointment? No. I said, you have to send an email. I went, I'm visually impaired. Oh, so I have to get my wife to send an email. Then she says, can you phone Kev because he's visually impaired? They email her back and went, what's the word? Equality and inclusion. And I'm going, I'm on the books saying, I can't see. Allow me. And I can't be only visually impaired or blind or dyslexic or whatever person who can't. So if it is equality and inclusion, allow everyone to the party. There's no point in having a disabled toilet with no lift on the second floor saying, well, if you need the toilet, go up there. But I can't. Well, there is a toilet. It's not my fault if you can't get to it. And that's how it's feeling so much with the disabled, with the mentally ill. And I'm thinking, where is the help? Where is the love? If everyone's welcome, why aren't we welcome? Why aren't we allowed to get better? What a sad state of things. I mean, there's always people who fell through the cracks, but they don't seem like cracks anymore. They seem like chasms. And you're lucky as you're yodeling over at the other person going, I made it. And you're looking down there and it's a chasm full of empty souls that didn't get there. No, sad.
We have another from Steve. Just bring it up.
Hansel.
Yeah. It's slightly delayed because you were talking on and then a bit, Kev. So I don't know what point he's making here, but I'll read it. Took the words out of my mouth, Kev. The people who can make the changes are earning a small fortune and are most likely not willing to take the challenge of making a difference. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure they earn the money and I'm grateful for all the NHS does, but almost feels like they're leaving it to the private sector to pick up the slack. These some long ones. He's trying to trip me up, Steve, here, isn't he, with these long ones?
But as Steve just said then, these words are echoed through people and people and people. And then once again, you've got Dr. Dylan with PhDs and doctorates, who's on a whatever, a good whack. And then good old Nurse Cadman, who puts up with it and is there, is on a lower wage and hasn't even guaranteed to get a wage because it might be on agency or hasn't got the staff. And because you're in there, once again, I see people who are now working from home. I might go in the office once a week. You haven't got that office environment where you can go, you're right, Lee, how's Calla, how's Nikki, sure, right. Steve, how's you? We haven't got that gel anymore where we'd all go in somewhere and gel. And you see it with nurses. They're not always gelling with each other because they don't know when Tiffany, Kev and Darren are going to be in next. And I think when you've got a nurse army and you're all there, you support one another, and you know when someone's had a bad night before, or they work with that drunk or that whoever. We need to form together again, away from maybe the agencies. And the agencies have got their place, but I believe a smaller place in the working environment, and have stronger teams where you forge relationships, you're with each other. And then if you had got like your home team, it's like, I'm your homework, I'm your care in the community. My name's Kev. I'm going to come every week. Next day it's Lee. Next day it's Bob. Next day it's... And you go, where's Kev gone? Oh, Kev's gone on holiday and Lee's cat's got diarrhea.
And there's nothing wrong with going on holiday, but you make people aware that that's happening and this other person's going to be turning up
and
for 2 weeks or whatever it is.
Because people need, in these situations, routine and consistency. And if I say, Hansel, I'm going to be there at 9 o'clock tomorrow, 10. 11, 12, 2. And then if you're lucky, you have a text message, we're not coming today. You're thinking, I've wasted my own time being here. Maybe I had to go out. Maybe I was going to go to the Lions. Maybe I was going to walk the dog. And if we want their trust, it needs to be earned. And if I say I'm going to be there for 9, let me know. And if you're not going to be there for 9, you message me before 9. You know what I mean? I have a lot of private sessions. Oh, sorry, Kev, I can't make them in Blackpool. Did you wake up there? Were you kidnapped? You knew before 2 o'clock you weren't going to be here. So allow me to structure my day. Treat me with the same respect, once again, respect, that you would like. Help me build trust with you by being honest to me. And if you can't make it, be honest. Don't fudge answers. Don't tell me what you think I want to hear. Tell me the truth. And allow me to build a relationship with you. And if we can build it, then hopefully we can get better from it.
Sounds good.
Any more comments?
No, that's it. I've read them all now.
Well, I think that's going to finish this off, pal. I mean, this is a conversation that we've been talking about for 5 years now, 5.5 years. And it started off with go to the GP. Then it's go and get help. And it's getting harder and harder now. For me, when I have these horrible phone calls, just saying, be patient, be strong, please hold on, begging people to hold on. And that's what I applaud you to do. So if you are aware that someone's struggling, or if you're struggling yourself, reach out to an old pal, because the world won't be as good of a place without you in it. You will never realise the absence the world will have on the world until you're gone. And you have that with suicide. I remember Ali from Ripple said that to me. She said, suicide's a weird death, Kev. Because when you have someone that gets stabbed to death, you hate the murderer, or cancer, you hate the cancer. But when you lose someone to suicide, you grieve them. But there's a part of you that thinks, blame, hate. What could I have done? Why didn't they come to me? And all the people I've known who've killed themselves now, and you see their children, or you see their partners, or their old pals, the devastation it leaves behind. That whole thing, it's not like if I drop a glass now, it's all the shards. Some are massive chunks of glass, you know, the husband, or a massive chunk of glass, the child. But the little shards, the old pal who used to see him every so often in the gym, that person who used to catch the bus with, that person who, the person who died never realised how happy they were when they saw them, how much knowledge they brought, or those quirks that drove everyone else mad, but they loved. You never see that. So persevere. Find something that can pick you up and give you some solace, be it music, writing, training, TV. Find something or someone that you love and cling on to it, because that might be the thing that brings you back home. Well, guys, thank you all for listening as always. I want you all to take care of yourselves and each other. Ta-ra a bit.
Listen.
And that's a wrap for another show. But if there are any comments or messages that you would like us to read out for our next podcast, please be in touch. There are also lots of different organisations at the bottom of this page, and hopefully they can help you or someone you care about. Please share this to spread the word. Until we talk next time, ta-ra a bit.
Listen.